take our places, we can begin. So, first of all, warm welcome to everyone, for members of the public and media and elected members who are here. We've got a list of apologies. We've got Councillor Cooper for absence, Councillor Webster and Cashmore on Council Business, Mayor Len, Councillor Clow and Councillor Crum for lateness. Any other? No one else? I'll move that. Is there a seconder? Councillor Brewer. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. It's carried. Declarations of interest? None at the moment. I'll move on to now, before I forget, because this is not my happy place. Health and safety. Sorry, I should have done that at the beginning. This, in accordance with the new laws, regulations and government requirements, we now have to be healthy and safe. And we have to go through this little doodah at the beginning. Bathrooms are located on level...
At every meeting?
At every meeting. At every freaking meeting. So, bathrooms are located on level 2 entrance before the stairwell. Men's on the left, ladies on the right. Choose your gender assignment and you may choose to use whichever bathroom suits your sexual orientation. That's not in here either. Fire evacuation plan. If the fire alarm goes off, exit immediately following our wonderful staff through the way you came in, actually, down the stairwell, and don't use the lifts, and make it into the square where we will gather.
Oh, yeah, Chris.
That's it. Thank you.
Who are the wardens?
I don't know.
Sorry, Joelle is one of the wardens.
And let's acknowledge Catherine, who's our new committee democracy advisor and runner of the meeting. So warm welcome, Catherine. And I'm sure our wardens, the minute the fire alarm goes off, will transform themselves into fire wardens and lead us to safety. Confirmations of the minutes. I'll move the meeting of the 8th of December, including the confidential section. Is there someone who... Thank you. Councillor Penrose, I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
It's carried. There are no petitions. Now, 2 lots of public input. So we're going to be hearing from Trevor Hipkins from ACOM and then from Penny, who has a presentation for us. So, first of all, Trevor. And we've had the presentation on the sentiment survey before, so warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
Right, we're in your hands.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, councillors. Okay, is that better?
Just need to change over microphones,
This one?
Trevor. Sometimes they're just a little bit dicey.
How's that? Is that better?
Lovely.
Everyone hear me? Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity to come along here and present the findings of our survey. As an introduction to those of you who wouldn't have seen this before, is we carry out a biannual survey of the infrastructure and building market throughout New Zealand. We canvass opinions from people around the country. Everybody has an opportunity to give their opinions on set topics and questions that we ask. So the major disclaimer is that the opinions in this report aren't those of ACOM or myself, but I'm happy to field questions about it. So we'll go through a few slides which pick up. So this was for the second half of last year and was concluded in November. Firstly, we just got a profile of who we've gone to. So if you can see and perhaps read that there, that we've got we're quite pleased. We have very good spread of respondents through people who may be investing in infrastructure or buildings, or people who may be involved on the delivery side of that. There's also a good spread throughout the country in terms of the colours. So North Island Upper is quite well represented. That's mainly the Auckland region, Central, and then Lower North Island, and then Canterbury and the remainder of the South Island. So a good spread there by industry role as well. It's a reasonably good spread there, and then a very good public-private sector mix there, almost equal. And then by value of what people are either investing or delivering. So that's, again, a very reasonable spread there. So it gives the survey results some credibility, we feel. Going on to the next slide. So we split it into either infrastructure or buildings. And as you can see there on the infrastructure, we've actually been doing this survey for 8 times. We've done the survey since 2012. What it's showing is that the view in Auckland is still pretty strong for infrastructure work. And overall, across the country, there's a 37% increase in people's expectations that there's going to be a workload increase. So that's very positive from that point of view. There is a decline, as you can see in the green there, in Christchurch, and I can touch on that a little bit later on. So that's the infrastructure side, which is the left-hand graphic there. The right-hand graphic is the buildings market, and we've been doing that for a lot longer, since 2010, and as you may remember, there was obviously the spike for Christchurch a few years ago. That's declined, but Auckland has steadily increased. So it's very positive for the Auckland region, and people are feeling that there's going to be an awful lot of workload coming up. There is a bit of a peak as well for Hamilton, which entered the market. We started surveying them, or including them in the survey, in 2012. So going into a bit more detail on the infrastructure side. So this graphic splits between the people in the investment side and the people who are actually delivering. And there's a reasonable, consistency between the two there. We have in the past seen a bit of discrepancy when the delivery side have been a lot more optimistic than those investing. But here there's some stability showing there in the market. The overwhelming majority of people see increased investment happening in infrastructure, and obviously the delivery side are following on from that, because they see that coming through the market with workflow. The government's strategic infrastructure plan that was issued last year, I think, has given that side of the industry a bit of confidence. So we're seeing some of that coming through. There's a bit of a disconnect there between delivery and investment, but perhaps that's partly explained by the fact that the delivery market, that we're generally quite optimistic people, whereas the investors are a bit more ahead of the game. They know what's going to happen ahead of the delivery side. So we do a graphic here that shows regional change since the last report, and the size. There are numbers there, but the size of the bubble there is indicative. So in the upper half of the North Island, which is predominantly Auckland, there's some very big increases proposed there. Land development is a big one for obvious reasons. The residential market there, the push is happening there. There's a growth across the country in areas like aviation. Auckland Airport, Wellington Airport works. Christchurch are looking at doing works as well. And almost wherever you look across the country, there's increased workload being forecast. The one exception to that is a softening of opinion in Christchurch, and I think we feel that's due to a stabilising of the situation there, while people are just really finding their feet. Some of the big projects are coming through, and the commercial side, I think, are finding it a little bit tougher there than they anticipated. Moving on to the buildings, this is probably even more heated up than the infrastructure side. So the investment is a growing trend of workload expectations, and the delivery market very similar. So there's the consistency there. Obviously, as most people will see, you just need to look out the window and look at the number of cranes in Auckland to see what's happening here. It's a very buoyant economy in the building market. Housing is just one factor of that, and we'll come on to the other reasons there. There are concerns about the speed of the growth in the market and the effect on the supply chain, on resources and skills, etc. So again, on the buildings side, we've got the same graphic for growth in the regions, and almost all the bubbles are looking pretty big. Residential, 92% growth in that market in Auckland or in Upper North Island. Mixed use is pretty big as well, an increase there. So commercial and retail is actually in some ways catching up with the expectations that there's always been there for residential. Comments that came out of the survey from various people, we do invite comments, were particularly in Auckland, that we do have a big push on growth here, but there's a big concern out there, which is shared by ourselves, that we need to do it, but we need to do it well. And I think that's something that you're obviously cognizant about. So if we're going to be growing, there's some great examples of that. In public spaces like Aotea Square and Britomart and the Wynyard Quarter now, and down there it's looking really good. So I think the focus, what people like to see, the response we got is that they like to see everything done, but done well, even if it may take a little bit longer, cost a little bit more. One other minor factor out of this is the residential market in the middle North Island, so the Hamilton, Waikato region, is showing a bit of a push, and I think that's we consider that's a bit of an overspill from the pressure on the Auckland market, that people looking down there, there's lots of growth in Pocono and areas like that, for instance. This is one that you'll probably be very interested in. It's the scorecard for the super city. So we've done this one a couple of times. So generally, a third of the comments rated performance average. To be fair, there's some good marks there for providing public services, parks, libraries, etc. The natural environment protection, progression infrastructure was good. But there are concerns, and there were comments made about the consenting and the approval process. Particular comments made were the consenting process could possibly hamstring development or delay development, add cost to it. The other side of the coin for that, though, is if the process is robust enough, then that helps protect the quality of things going through. We know that currently the building consent process now includes a requirement for facade drawings in detail. So there's that's causing concerns in the industry. So it's something that council and the industry are working at. But it's obviously concerns there that has been raised. Another question that was asked was about funding infrastructure and in particular Auckland's infrastructure. The overwhelming majority of people viewed private sector funding as the way to go. Not surprisingly, really, but so user pays is very top of mind, and then private sector investment, whichever form that may take, PPPs, toll roads, whatever, or special purpose infrastructure tax, an income tax, and interestingly, there's quite a body of opinion considering that will consider a partial or full sale of existing assets. So again, the 30-year infrastructure plan that the government produced last year, that suggested that a good infrastructure is a sign of a strong economy, and I think we're all aware that that's something that New Zealand and Auckland probably does invest in and needs to keep top of mind